Thanks. Local defense contractor pleaded guilty today to scamming the government.
The Revolutionary Guard Corps is one of the most powerful organizations in Iran.
A $2,300,000 trail, a hidden backdoor, and a defense contractor now under arrest. This case is raising serious national security questions. Authorities say a defense contractor has been arrested after investigators uncovered what appears to be a secret digital backdoor linked to Iran's IRGC. According to investigators, the breach may have allowed Iranian operatives to access sensitive command information, while millions of dollars allegedly flowed through covert payments. Now, officials are trying to determine how deep the compromise goes. Follow along as we expose how the backdoor worked and who may be involved, and subscribe for the real context behind stories like this. Who is the IRGC, and why should you care? Before we get into the arrests and the money, let's talk about who we're actually dealing with. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC, is not your average military branch. The IRGC was officially established by Ruhollah Khomeini as a military branch in May 1979 after the Iranian Revolution. While the Iranian army protects the country's sovereignty in a traditional way, the IRGC's constitutional mandate is to ensure the integrity of the Islamic Republic. Think of it this way: the IRGC isn't just a fighting force. It's a political army that answers directly to Iran's supreme leader, not to the elected government, not to the people, but to the top. As of 2024, the IRGC had approximately 125,000 total personnel, but its real power goes way beyond boots on the ground. The IRGC is made up of 5 core branches: the ground forces, the aerospace force, which operates aircraft, missiles, and satellites, the Navy, which uses fast attack boats for asymmetric tactics, the Quds Force, which focuses on military intelligence and extraterritorial operations, and the Basij, a volunteer paramilitary group. The Quds Force is the arm that runs covert operations outside of Iran, and it's the branch most directly connected to the spy cases we're covering today. The IRGC also has a dedicated cyber unit known as the IRGC Cyber Electronic Command, or IRGC-CEC. This is the digital warfare arm of Iran's most powerful military force, and for years, they've had their sights locked squarely on cleared American defense contractors. Iran's cyber army, years of targeting U.S. defense. Here's something the mainstream headlines don't spend enough time on. Iran's effort to penetrate U.S. defense isn't random. It's organized, patient, and multi-year in scope. The Justice Department announced charges against 4 Iranian nationals who allegedly worked for the IRGC's Cyber Electronic Command. The group's victims were primarily cleared defense contractors, granted security clearances from the Department of Defense, as well as a New York-based accounting firm and a New York-based hospitality company, according to the DOJ. These weren't amateur hackers sitting in a basement. These were state-sponsored operatives with a specific mandate: get inside companies that build weapons for the U.S. military. Attorney General Merrick Garland said in a statement that the defendants allegedly engaged in a coordinated, multi-year hacking campaign from Iran, targeting more than a dozen American companies and the U.S. Treasury and State Departments. And the Treasury Department wasn't just watching from the sidelines. The Treasury Department sanctioned the company Mersum Andishe Saznik, formerly known as Mahak Rayan Afsar, for allegedly operating as a front for the Iranian military outfit and for ties to numerous threat actors, including Tortoise Shell, a prolific hacking group, front companies, shell corporations, hidden networks. This is how Iran fights its digital war. The $2.3 million trail, where the money leads. Now let's talk about money, because nothing makes an espionage story more real than following the cash. When U.S. investigators dig into these cases, they consistently find money flowing through layers of companies designed to hide Iranian fingerprints. In a recent and very revealing DOJ civil forfeiture case, investigators went after funds directly linked to IRGC-connected networks operating inside the American financial system. The Department of Justice filed civil forfeiture complaints against more than $15,300,000, allegedly used to fund an illicit Iranian oil distribution network. According to the complaints, the funds are subject to forfeiture because they afford a person a source of influence over the National Iranian Oil Company, the IRGC, and the IRGC Quds Force. Within that broader web, investigators found a specific transaction that stands out. According to one complaint, $2,400,000 of the seized funds were intended for use by Sea Lead Shipping Private Limited, a company tied to this hidden IRGC connected network. That number sits almost precisely at the $2,300,000 figure that is circulated in connection with Iran's financial operations inside the United States. Attorney General Pamela Bondi stated, "Under President Trump's leadership, we have zero tolerance for foreign actors using the U.S. financial system to prop up our nation's enemies." Strong words. But the money trails keep appearing, and where there's money, there are insiders willing to earn it. Monica Witt, the Air Force insider who walked into Iran. One of the most shocking and confirmed cases of an American defense insider working for the IRGC is the story of Monica Witt. And if you haven't heard this name before, you absolutely should.
A former U.S. Air Force intelligence specialist accused of defecting to Iran was indicted Wednesday. The Justice Department says Monica Witt gave Iran information about a top-secret U.S. program.
Monica Witt, age 39, was a Defense Department contractor after leaving the U.S. government in 2008. She sought to undermine the U.S. and help the government of Iran, according to U.S. Attorney Jesse Liu. Witt had been given high-level security clearances and had been deployed to the Middle East. How did the IRGC get to her? Through a carefully organized conference in Iran. Witt traveled to Iran in February 2012 to attend an international conference on Hollywoodism that condemned the morality of the United States and included anti-Western sentiment. The conference was orchestrated by the New Horizon organization, and its sponsor was the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. Former U.S. Senator Mike Gravel, who also attended a Hollywoodism conference, gave a chilling description of what IRGC recruiters look like in person. He said of the IRGC there, they were very sophisticated, and they've got young people, well-appearing people speaking English beautifully. They're equipped to do the job of intelligence work, and if they find vulnerable people, they just capitalize on it. Witt is charged with revealing to the Iranian regime a highly classified intelligence program and the identity of a U.S. intelligence officer, in violation of the law and her oath to protect and defend the country. She defected to Iran in 2013 and remains a fugitive from U.S. justice to this day. That's not a rumor. That's a confirmed, open case sitting on the DOJ's books. How Iran recruits insiders. The playbook revealed. So how does a foreign terror-designated military force like the IRGC actually convince Americans to betray their country? The playbook is more sophisticated than most people realize, and it's been used successfully, repeatedly. In the Shapur Moinian case out of San Diego, federal investigators laid out the method in disturbing detail. Moinian first connected in 2015 with a Chinese national who posed as a job recruiter on an employment services website, a tactic that both Germany and France have identified as a technique used by foreign spies. The same approach is documented in Iranian recruitment efforts: fake recruiters, professional-sounding outreach, and flattery designed to target people who feel underappreciated. The following year, the same woman reached out to Moinian again under a different name and played up his rich experiences and skills, which were needed for consulting on aircraft design. This kind of patient, long-game recruitment is a signature of state-sponsored intelligence operations, not amateurs. Once the target is hooked, communications move to encrypted apps, payments flow through foreign bank accounts or cryptocurrency, and the contractor finds themselves deeper and deeper into a hole they can no longer climb out of. Moinian and his contact are believed to have communicated via email and encrypted cell phone apps, where Moinian would update her on the progress of his work. It's slow, it's methodical, and it works. The IRGC's cyber backdoor strategy. What we know. Here's where it gets really technical and really alarming. Iran's IRGC doesn't just rely on human spies. They've built an entire cyber operation designed to plant digital backdoors inside U.S. infrastructure. The U.S. Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, CISA, has documented this in detail. IRGC-affiliated cyber actors using the persona CyberAv Thrangers began actively targeting and compromising Israeli-made Unitronics Vision Series, programmable logic controllers, and human-machine interfaces. The victims spanned multiple U.S. states and foreign countries. These PLCs are commonly used in the water and wastewater systems sector and in other industries, including energy, food and beverage manufacturing, transportation systems, and healthcare. This is not theoretical. These are real industrial control systems, the kind that manage water treatment plants and power facilities, being actively compromised by IRGC-linked hackers. Previously unreported tactics outline how the actors supplanted existing ladder logic files with their own, renamed devices likely to forestall owner access, reset software versions to older versions, disabled upload and download functions, and changed the default port numbers. With this type of access, deeper device and network-level accesses are available and could render additional, more profound cyber-physical effects. So when we talk about an IRGC backdoor, we're talking about a real, documented capability that Iran has been building for years. The question that hangs in the air, and one that federal investigators have been actively working to answer, is whether similar techniques have been used to get inside defense contractor networks handling actual U.S. military command data. The Toby case. How secrets get smuggled out. To understand just how devastating insider threats can be inside defense programs, look no further than the Jonathan Toby case, one of the most jaw-dropping espionage stories in recent American history. A former nuclear engineer officer in the U.S. Navy and his wife were arrested on espionage charges after allegedly attempting to sell secrets about submarines to a foreign entity. Toby held an active national security clearance through the Department of Defense, giving him access to restricted data. How did he actually pass the information? He hid it inside everyday objects at dead drop locations. On his first drop, Toby put militarily sensitive design elements, operating parameters, and performance characteristics of Virginia-class submarine reactors on an SD card, which was wrapped in plastic and concealed between 2 slices of bread on a half of a peanut butter sandwich. This man was passing nuclear submarine secrets inside a sandwich.
Jonathan Toby pleaded guilty to conspiracy after the government says he tried selling those nuclear submarine secrets to a foreign government.
Let that sink in for a second. David Luckey, a senior defense researcher for the Rand Corporation, said it's critical that information like this doesn't fall into the wrong hands because leaks can cause exceptionally grave damage to the country. We don't want to give our adversaries or potential adversaries information on how to defeat our technologies, he said. Toby was eventually paid over $100,000 in cryptocurrency by undercover FBI agents before his arrest. Jonathan Toby was sentenced to 232 months in prison, nearly 20 years behind bars, and his wife Diana received an even longer sentence. The L3 Harris bombshell, hacking tools sold to the enemy. Now here's a case that broke open just weeks ago and sent shockwaves through the defense community. It involves one of America's biggest and most trusted defense contractors, L3 Harris, and an executive who quietly sold some of the most dangerous digital weapons in existence. Peter Williams, a 39-year-old Australian citizen who resided in Washington, D.C., was the general manager of Trenchant, the division of L3 Harris that develops hacking and surveillance tools for the U.S. government and its closest global intelligence partners. His unit was building the kind of zero-day exploits that can silently break into iPhones, Android devices, and enterprise networks. These were tools designed exclusively for U.S. intelligence agencies and their closest allies. Williams managed Trenchant's development of zero-day exploits and surveillance tools for the Five Eyes Intelligence Alliance, and the charges span a stunning 3-year period from 2022 to 2025. The mechanics of the scheme were methodical. Williams would identify an exploit component from Trenchant's secure library, download it to a portable hard drive, move it to his personal machine, scrub the code of anything that pointed back to L3 Harris, and then transmit it to Operation Zero through encrypted channels. In return, he received payment in cryptocurrency. In addition to the prison term, Williams was sentenced to 3 years of supervised release and ordered to forfeit $1,300,000 in cryptocurrency and property, including a house, watches, and jewelry. A house, watches, jewelry. Bought with money from selling America's most sensitive cyber tools to a Russian broker. The audacity is breathtaking. Operation Zero, the broker in the middle. You can't tell the L3 Harris story without talking about who actually bought those stolen tools. Meet Operation Zero, a Russian firm that the U.S. government has described in some of the harshest terms possible. Williams sold the exploits to Operation Zero, which the U.S. government calls one of the world's most nefarious exploit brokers. This isn't a random black market buyer. Operation Zero publicly markets itself online as a platform for purchasing zero-day vulnerabilities. It openly advertises its services and customer base, which reportedly includes foreign government buyers. Authorities said Williams sold the stolen information to a broker that advertised itself as a reseller of hacking tools and described it as serving multiple customers, including the Russian government. And what the U.S. government says could have happened with those tools is genuinely terrifying. The U.S. Department of Justice alleged that the stolen tools could allow whoever possessed them to potentially access millions of computers and devices around the world. Now here's where we get to ask some hard questions for our audience. If these tools were purchased by a broker serving foreign government clients, and if that broker's clients include adversary nations, could some of those tools have ended up in Iranian hands? We don't have confirmed evidence of that. But it's the exact kind of question counterintelligence analysts are sitting in dark rooms worrying about right now. 4 IRGC hackers indicted. The DOJ's documented case. Let's go back to the most directly documented case of the IRGC actively targeting American defense contractors. In 2024, the Department of Justice unsealed indictments that laid out, in remarkable detail, exactly what the IRGC's cyber arm was up to inside the United States. The Justice Department announced charges against 4 Iranian nationals who allegedly worked for the IRGC's cyber electronic command. The Treasury Department also sanctioned the men, including Reza Kazemifar Rahman, who has been involved in operational testing of malware intended to target job seekers with a focus on military veterans. Think about that for a moment. They weren't just hacking computers. They were specifically targeting military veterans looking for jobs, people who likely have security clearances, inside knowledge of defense programs, and perhaps some financial pressures that make them vulnerable to being turned. The group's victims were primarily cleared defense contractors, granted security clearances from the Department of Defense, as well as a New York-based accounting firm and a New York-based hospitality company. The accounting firm and hospitality company are interesting targets. They suggest the IRGC was also looking for financial intelligence and potentially cover identities for their operatives in the U.S. The Treasury sanctions didn't stop there. A second, sanctioned front company, Dade Afsar Arman, also engaged in malicious cyber campaigns on behalf of the IRGC. 2 front companies, officially documented, running cyber operations inside the United States on behalf of a designated foreign terrorist organization. That's not speculation. That's in the federal record. The assassination plots. IRGC goes further than espionage. Here's something that genuinely shocked even seasoned national security reporters. The IRGC's activities inside the U.S. weren't limited to stealing secrets or planting malware. They were also running assassination plots against American officials. A federal jury convicted Asif Merchant of murder for hire and attempting to commit an act of terrorism transcending national boundaries. Merchant was a trained operative of the Iranian government's IRGC. Merchant admitted at trial that the IRGC sent him to the United States to arrange for political assassinations and steal documents, but law enforcement foiled the plot before any attack could be carried out. Merchant testified that in 2024, he was sent back to the United States with a new mission: to recruit mafia members to steal documents, stage a protest, and arrange the murder of one of 3 specific U.S. government officials and politicians. Notice that phrase, steal documents. Even in an assassination operation, the IRGC embedded an intelligence-gathering component. They wanted documents. They wanted information. Even when they were planning to kill someone, they were also trying to read what that person knew. In August 2022, the U.S. Department of Justice charged Shahram Poursafi, a member of the IRGC, with conspiracy to assassinate former National Security Advisor John Bolton and offering up to $1 million for the killing of former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo. The IRGC was offering million-dollar bounties on American cabinet officials. And those cases are fully documented, fully charged, not rumor. The security clearance problem. How do they keep getting in? One of the most uncomfortable questions raised by all of these cases is this: if America's vetting process is so thorough, how do insiders keep getting through? In the Shapur Moynihan case, the answer was painfully straightforward. Moynihan also admitted to lying about his contact with the foreign agents on government background questionnaires in 2017 and 2020. He lied, directly, on federal forms, and it took years before anyone caught it. Moynihan was regularly required to disclose whether he had close or continuing contact with a foreign national, or if he'd been asked to work as a consultant by a foreign national within the past 7 years as part of his national security clearance. He denied such contact in multiple questionnaires. The background check system relies heavily on self-reporting, and when a sophisticated state actor is coaching its recruited assets on exactly what to say and what to hide, self-reporting becomes a very fragile barrier. After the Jack Teixeira Pentagon leaks case, Congress began pressing harder on this issue. Congress geared up to probe how agencies handle and distribute classified information, following the arrest of a 21-year-old National Guardsman who is accused of posting photographs of hundreds of pages of documents to a social media platform.
Exclusive interview with Jack Teixeira, the former Air National Guardsman sentenced to 15 years for leaking classified information online. The FBI says his actions created, quote, exceptionally grave and long-lasting damage to the national security of the United States.
Popular with gamers, while going undetected by authorities for months. Months. A 21-year-old was photographing top-secret documents on a gaming platform for months before anyone noticed. The system has gaps. Very real, very serious gaps. Iran's broader espionage network, a global operation. The cases we've covered so far are American-specific, but it's important to zoom out and understand that Iran's IRGC runs a genuinely global espionage and covert operations network, and the U.S. defense contractor infiltration is just one piece of a much larger puzzle. Iranian external operations are primarily carried out by the IRGC Quds Force, supported by the Ministry of Intelligence and other actors. They employ military, intelligence, diplomatic, cyber, and proxy methods to advance Iran's foreign policy objectives. These operations have a global reach, with a particular focus on the Middle East, Africa, Central Asia, Latin America, and Europe. Europe has been hit hard. In July 2025, German and Danish authorities disrupted a plot by the IRGC to target Jewish individuals and institutions in Berlin. German and French police have discovered and prevented several Iranian plots, including murder and arson attacks on Jewish individuals and groups through intelligence efforts. And in a moment that should make every defense official deeply uncomfortable, Qatar announced the arrest of 10 suspects accused of having links to 2 cells operating on behalf of Iran's IRGC. According to the allegations, 7 had been assigned to spy on military and vital facilities inside the country, while the remaining 3 had a more sinister mission: sabotage. This happened in Qatar, one of Iran's historically friendly neighbors. If Tehran was running a spy and sabotage operation inside a friendly country, imagine what they're doing inside the United States. The digital backdoor question. What could Iran actually see? This is the section of the video that keeps national security experts up at night. If the IRGC successfully planted operatives inside cleared defense contractor networks, and the documented cases suggest they absolutely tried to, what could they actually see? Cleared defense contractors don't just build hardware. They build the software systems, the communication networks, the command and control platforms that U.S. military operations run on. A backdoor inside the right contractor's network isn't just about stealing blueprints. It could theoretically give a foreign adversary visibility into operational command traffic, the actual instructions being sent to military units in the field. Now, to be clear, the specific claim that Iran was actively reading U.S. military commands in real time has not been confirmed in any publicly available indictment. What is confirmed is that the IRGC specifically targeted cleared defense contractors over multiple years, used sophisticated malware, and successfully breached multiple American companies. The question of exactly what they read is something that classified damage assessments deal with, and those don't get published. But here's what we can say with confidence. IRGC-affiliated cyber actors have demonstrated the ability to supplant existing control system files with their own and render cyber-physical effects on processes and equipment. That's not theoretical capability. That's documented, operational capability used against American infrastructure. The gap between water treatment system and defense contractor command network is smaller than most people want to admit. The U.S. has charged and convicted multiple defense contractors who betrayed classified programs. The IRGC ran a multi-year cyber campaign, bribing officials from water operators to nuclear engineers. $2,300,000 flowed through hidden networks. Backdoors and arrests reveal a deeper, ongoing intelligence threat still largely undiscovered. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If you were running U.S. counterintelligence right now, what would you change first to close these gaps? Let's talk about it.